Okay, welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and yeah, we're still day one at AUSA Conference. This has been an amazing day. We've met some amazing people, and we got, hey, now it's going to be fun because we get to talk about drones, dude. Yeah, I'm talking drones. This is going to be so cool. And we're talking to Ben Levinson, the CEO of Heven Drones. I can't wait to get into this. Ben, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, man. Great to talk to you. You're the CEO, and the big thing about your drones, besides everybody else's, is hydrogen, right?
So that's correct. I'm going to start one step before that.
Okay.
Most drones in the market are flying cameras. They're flying around collecting information, camera sensors. That is amazing. It's an amazing value to be able to see beyond the horizon, etc. The challenge is, what do you do with that information? I founded Heven Drones 5 years ago to build drones that can be flying robots. They can actually bring solutions. There's two main challenges that we're trying to overcome for a drone to be an effective flying robot. One is heavy payloads. How can drones lift payloads that are relevant to actually do things? The second one is long endurance, right? If drones are going to be flying for 30 minutes, an hour, that's great for some use cases, but can we really envision a future of 30, 40, 50 drones flying in swarms and coming back every 30 minutes? The answer is probably not. So what our mission at Heven Drones is to allow drones to become flying robots by trying to solve both those pieces, the heavy lift and the long endurance.
So you're basically talking robots flying robots.
Well, we actually have a specific product that is a drone that can carry a ground robot, which is, if you think about it, it's interesting. These ground robots are amazing technology, but if they have to go only a few hundred feet, but there's a border there, a fence, or there's water or any other, challenging thing to overcome, they can't do that, right? Imagine the rooftop only, 3 stories up, right? You can't get your ground robot on top of that rooftop to do that. We can do that now. I think it's a bit even more fundamental than that. Let's imagine drones, that these drones themselves are flying robots. What is a robot? A robot is actually doing something. That's how I think about a robot. So we want these drones to do your actual missions, whether that is dropping things off and moving things, whether it's taking out your enemies, right? And this, of course, is broader, right? There's a lot of other use cases, but essentially it's looking at the drones as the solution, not the one to only detect your problems.
Now, okay, so I got to find out about your background, man. I mean, that's a lot of heavy thinking going on there 5 years ago. What is your background?
Yeah, so not that interesting. I grew up in the U.S., moved when I was 10 years old to Israel. I served in the IDF in Israel as a combat commander. And in my service, I always had this entrepreneurial mindset, I would say. And when I was an infantry soldier, I started thinking about how we're fighting wars today as if we're, a few hundred years ago, we're walking as soldiers, we have our guns. As infantry, of course, not Air Force, not Navy, and I'm like, this has got to evolve, right? And that was kind of what led this process. I volunteered 6 years ago for a national project in Israel, putting out fires, actually fires that were started by terrorists that sent, they sent fire kites and balloons from Gaza into Israel. I volunteered for this, just to help out. And we used drones at first to identify the fires, but that wasn't enough because by the time the firefighters got there, based on our locations, the fires are spreading, and this led to this project of building drones that could put out fires. And then through this project, I realized that if a drone could put out a fire, it could do so much more than that, right? So that was really kind of the history. And it's been 5 years. I was fortunate to found the company in a time that, if you look at the past 5 years, look at Ukraine and Russia, the past 3 years, look at what's happening in Israel the past year plus already. The world is changing, and I was fortunate that Heven Drones is already up and running, with a significant operation in the U.S., in Israel, as this world has been changing. So to take advantage and really kind of build a technology when the customers are there.
Well, and speaking of that, I mean, I know that your guys are deployed right now in Israel, and I know you're talking to DOD about doing something here in the United States.
Yeah, correct. So we're actually a U.S. company. We're a U.S. company with an R&D center in Israel. Our go-to-market started with some work in Israel because Israel is a much smaller market, so it's easier to get traction. And unfortunately, Israel often finds itself in situations where it's immediate, imminent. So we've been working a lot out of Israel. Our H100 is the leading heavy lift solution, flying in all different kind of battlefields. Obviously, there's no GPS in battlefields of the modern world. comms are very complicated with multiple different use cases. So we have that experience, and then we're actually also the sole provider, we're sole source hydrogen contract for the Israeli government. We do have a pretty significant U.S. operation that's already working with SOCOM and some others. So we're doing both. Again, a lot of our in the field experience has been in Israel, just because that's where the active is going on. We've been working, we have contracts for the past 4 years with the U.S. DoD as well.
Well, and it's so interesting to me too, Ben. We were talking to one of your other guys about just how when you deploy a drone, how far away do you have to be? How far away can you be? And it depends on all about communications, right?
Correct. So, if we think about drones, right, drones are what they call unmanned systems, right? So the whole advantage of drone is to operate beyond where you'd want to go as an individual for a variety of reasons, of course, your safety and accessibility and pricing, etc. There's kind of a few pieces. Obviously, there's the distance of the physical drones. We tend to forget that. This goes back to the hydrogen piece, right? So our drones can fly about 10 hours, right? So about 600 miles physically can actually fly and go the distance, right? The additional questions is if you got a vehicle that can fly, how are you actually communicating with the drone? So obviously communications are really important, and there's regular communications, RF, radio frequencies. There's satellite communications, what's called SATCOM. As these drones are becoming more autonomous, which is interesting and a bit scary if we think about this in a broader context, then these systems can theoretically get a target and go by themselves. They can even identify targets as they go. So imagine a drone that imagine a drone that gets a mission that says, hey, identify this, and this can be a person with a specific uniform, it could be a vehicle, it could be a target, and then just continue flying until you see that, and then go and do your task. Yeah. And the scary part is that it's not only us, the good people, the Western world that has technologies, it's also our adversaries, right? And unfortunately, we're seeing kind of the Russia, Iran, kind of becoming significant leaders in this space. We're looking at what's happening in Ukraine. People don't realize that Hamas opened up its attacks on October 7th in Gaza by taking out Israel's sensor systems with drones. Off the shelf, so $6,000 off the shelf Chinese drones, RPG head on the bottom of that, and they took out all our cameras. So Israel was, on October 7th, was totally blind. We could not see anything, and they just came in, right? So the aspect of drone technology is entering our lives, whether we like it or not. We just hope that we are leading this and not staying behind.
Yeah, we're talking to Ben Levinson here, Heven Drones on the National Defense. I mean, that is such fascinating stuff, and I can't even imagine the way that your mind works, where the company is right now in its evolution, because I'm sure you're working on other products and other things and other aspects of these drones, right?
Yeah, so what's exciting about this is that we're kind of in an industry that has no limit, right? Like if you think about the future of having thousands of drones, if not hundreds of thousands of millions, flying above our head and fighting our wars and many other use cases. So it's really an exciting time to be doing this. We start off with this drone that you can see behind us here, which is really a heavy lift drone. So this drone can lift 70 pounds of payload and do a variety of missions.
So you can put 70 pounds of payload on top of this drone?
Yeah.
Or integrated.
Correct. And these are everything from logistics, ground robots that we mentioned, as well as some other use cases, right? Air launch effect and some others. The main limitation is the flight time, right? Because this is still flying with batteries. And this leads us to this new system here.
Talk about this.
Yeah, so this system is powered by hydrogen fuel cells that basically give us about 3 to 5 times the energy density. So we're able to go for about 10 hours of flight time. There's two additional aspects that are very, very unique about this system. Number one is that it can fly in a totally stealth manner. What do I mean by that? Its noise is very, very low because there's no engine that's making noise, and its thermal signature is very, very low because again, there's no engine that's making that's a fire or anything burning there. There's no combustion going on. It's a fuel cell. The second piece, and this is really interesting, is that hydrogen, the most abundant, kind of aspect in out there in the world, we can create our hydrogen anywhere in the world. What do I mean by that?
Water.
Correct. We have a product. It's a portable hydrogen refueling station. It's a trailer, so you can pull it up, on your Humvee or your pickup truck. Right. The top is solar panels, and wherever you are in the world, you pull up and you create your energy. So if you are stuck in anywhere from Taiwan to wherever you are, and as long as you have the station in, you can refuel this 24/7 for eternity. And this is also, it's called energy independence. It's becoming more and more important as we're realizing that it's great to have the best F-35s, but if there's a war and you can't get your tankers in there, and if you can't refuel the F-35, they ain't going nowhere, right?
Right.
And we're obviously very, very heavily dependent on diesel and fuel. So this is a really, really important solution. And because we're using a relatively small amount of hydrogen, usually less than 1 pound per flight, that's it. It's really easy to solve this and fly in the field. So we've been getting additional contracts from the government to really scale out that piece of the hydrogen. So if you think about, again, just kind of where we're going, right? We are all in on hydrogen as the correct source for scaling out drones. Again, flight times of 10 hours, totally stealth, refueling this in the field. And we have drones that vary from about 10 pounds to 50 pounds of useful payload. Anything you can imagine, but everything from logistics, of course, cameras, sensors, communication relays, and then, of course, air launch effects, being able to use these as very, very effective.
Small
tools.
child.
Yeah. So everything, a lot of.
How much does this guy weigh?
So this is the basic one that weighs 55 pounds. That's his total weight and can lift 10 pounds of payload. It's what they call a Group 2. And we have a bigger version that's in development that will lift about 50 pounds of payload.
Are you like the Elon Musk of drones?
So I think anyone stepping into Elon Musk's shoes, I think, is a big, and he blew up a lot of shit, before he really saw success. So hopefully, but I would love to take, the ambition, I think, from Elon, which is to really solve the problems and to really think, to try to think forward a few steps, right? That's what I take from Elon, is that, like, let's not look at today's aspects, but like, how are we building, reusable rockets? We got all saw yesterday how they, grabbed out of the sky. Like, we're trying, like, it's easier to solve to power these drones by electricity or combustion engine because that's what's in the market today. Sure. We realize that in the next, again, the decades of the future, it won't work kind of elsewhere. So we are kind of really trying to push forward, take that 2, 3, 4 generation jump, invest in that, get our investors, get our employees, everyone behind that, and build it out. And again, we're fortunate to be in a time where I think we believe that the winner of the next 2 decades of the drone world is being created in the next 2 years. So if we can win these next 2 years. Wow. Because as all these forces you see around you in the U.S., allies, and elsewhere, as they're starting to pick their partners, they're going to, kind of lock them in. They're going to design them down there, and then they're going to scale out. So again, we're fortunate to be a leading player in Israel, a very strong player here in the U.S. We have a joint venture in India, so we're actually operating out in India and some other markets as well. So we're hopefully going to be one of those leaders. But we're definitely working day in day out of making this important.
And that's why we need guys like you. I mean, visionaries, thinkers, because the folks that are on the ground right now, the military might that's on the ground, you think one step at a time, right? You got to get through today. You got to get through the next hour.
Yeah.
And so you don't have time generally to think about, what's going to happen in the next decade or what's going to happen in the next century. So that is so important, that kind of thinking that you bring.
Yeah, and I'll just give them a bit more slack. I'm just joking here, but I think their goal is to make sure that today, if there's an attack today or tomorrow, what do we do about that? I think our goal is to make sure that, we really push in technologies. It's just important, I think, as a broader kind of statement that the broader, let's say, bureaucracy, the institutions, right, including in the government side, they really take this longer term view and they help support companies that are taking that view. Right? It's we obviously see the big 5 primes here, and on one hand they're doing great work. On the other hand, if we think about the wars of the future, and I heard this from a senior Air Force official here in the U.S. that if you take 10 F-35s, right, and fight against 10,000 small drones, right, F-35s are 1,000 times better than small drones, but it's almost impossible to stop these 10,000 drones or stopping 1%, which is already 100 drones, from taking out an aircraft carrier, for example, right? And it's not that the 10 F-35s aren't stronger per se, right, but if you scale this out and they have, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million small drones that aren't that good technologically, right? But, they can be able to, at the end, to win the battle. So I think we have to make sure we have to change that mindset of, rapid procurement, moving faster, and again, trying to support the companies that are really working day in, day out to make this a reality.
Well, what if you have the 20 F-35s and 10,000 drones?
Oh, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
I think that's what
No, it's not a question of either or. It's a question just of the important point is that when you're developing a 10-year program for F-35, there's a certain way of doing that, of managing that, etc. In our world, in 6 months, we're going to have new systems out there, right? If you have a 2-year procurement process, by the time you order your first system, it will be too late, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's more of a mindset. It's not a question of budget. We have $800+ billion. It's not a budget question. a question of how we do procurement and how we make sure that we fit ourselves, right, and the U.S. DoD to the needs in this area of the emerging, right, be able to move fast, kind of upgrade, etc.
Well, we work very closely with the DoD, so anybody I see from there, I'm going to mention your name and let them know the work you're doing.
And again, I want to say, I think it's changing, right? DIU, amazing partner of ours, amazing organization that is changing it. And again, I don't mention names here, but a lot of amazing leaders within the U.S. DoD are changing it. It's just a change of mindset. And when you have when you have millions of employees in the U.S. DoD, and you got to change, that's a big ship to move, right? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's less
big ship to turn around.
Yeah, it's less criticism. It's more about, if you think, it's more about a mindset, right? To win, you got to be able to move fast and nimble. Imagine how these systems will be powered by AI, right? We all see the AI, put AI in these systems. How good are they going to become? If you have a 2-year procurement process, on that, you're going to be buying ChatGPT, the first version that came out,
obsolete
2 years ago, right?
Yeah,
it's
right.
like, you just stay behind, right? So it's a different mindset. But again, I think our leaders in DoD are making that change. They're moving the ship with them, and I'm very optimistic about the future.
Where can people find out more about Heven Drones?
Yes, our website, hevendrones.com. Reach out to me, anyone else. But yeah, we're out there.
You hiring?
Yeah, we're growing. We're growing really fast. Essentially across different roles. So in the engineering, we're obviously a product company, so in engineering roles.
I can see a lot of veterans transitioning out from into engineering roles.
Yeah, so engineering roles is one thing. We have a lot of operations roles, so flight ops, again, customer support, business development. All those roles are, almost all veterans. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities. Please reach out. We always love to find interesting individuals that have the motivation to make the world a better place and be part of a company that's actually doing that. And again, not just in broad, but like being part of that change, right? So that's people that we look for. We like to be part of our journey.
Man, I love that, Ben. Great talking to you, man.
Same
What?
here.
That's so fascinating. We'll be right back here at the National Defense.
Thank you.